Welcome to this special briefing with Ambassador Yechiel Leiter. Ambassador Leiter, thank you so much for everything you do for Israel. We will start this special briefing with a prayer for the State of Israel from Rabbi Sam Klibinoff.
Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'Goalo, Baruch et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. Hagen ale bevrat chastecha, ufros ale sukat shlomecha. Ushlach archa v'amitecha lerosheha, sareh v'yoatzeha, v'takanem be'etzah tova milefanecha. Chazek et yidei meginei eretz kodshenu, v'anchilem elahinu Yeshua, v'ateret nitzachon te'atarem, v'nat hata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat alom liyosheveha. V'yatachenu kol beit Yisrael, b'kodna b'chol atzot bezureihem, v'tolechem mehera kamamiyot l'tzion yirecha, v'li Yerushalayim mishkan shemecha kakatuv b'torat Moshe avdecha. Im yihiyeh nidachacha b'ktei hashamayim, misham yikabetzcha Adonai Elohecha, misham yikachecha. V'heviecha Adonai Elohecha el haaretz asher Yoshua avatecha v'rishta, v'hitivecha v'hirbecha me'avotecha. V'yached levavenu li'ahava li'yira et shemecha, l'shmor kol divrei toratecha, Ushlach lana mehera ben David Mashiach tzidkecha livdot mechakei ketz yeshuatecha. V'alfa bahadarga onuzecha, hakol yoshevei tevel artzecha v'yomar kol asher neshama v'yapo, Adonai Elohei Yisrael melech, machuto b'chol mashallah, Amen Selah. Our Father in heaven, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, the first flowering of our redemption. Shield her beneath the wings of your kindness and spread over her your canopy of peace. Send your light and truth to her leaders, officers and counselors, and direct them with truth. Strengthen the defenders of our holy land, grant them salvation, crown them with victory, establish peace in the land and everlasting joy for inhabitants. Remember our brothers, the whole house of Israel, and all the land of their dispersion. Speedily bring them to Zion, your city, to Jerusalem, your dwelling place, as it is written in the Torah of Moshe, your servant. Even if your outcasts are in the ends of the world, from there Hashem, your God, will gather you, and from there he will fetch you. And Hashem, your God, will bring you to the land which your fathers occupied, and you shall occupy it, and he will make you more prosperous, more numerous than your fathers. Unite our hearts to love and revere your name, and to observe all the precepts of your Torah. Speedily send us your righteous Mashiach of the house of David to redeem those who long for your salvation. Reflect your glorious majesty upon all the inhabitants of earth, and let everyone who breathes declare, Hashem, God of Israel, is king, and his dominion rules over all. Amen. Selah.
Thank you, Rabbi Klibinoff. Dear friends, Israel's campaign against Iran's nuclear program is a watershed moment, not only for the Middle East, but for the entire world. When I saw the reports on the Israeli Air Force on the way to Tehran, it reminded me of Winston Churchill's words, never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. In the history of the State of Israel, there are a few milestones of strategic significance. Declaration of independence in 1948, the preemptive strike in 1967 against Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, who threatened to destroy the Jewish state, the peace with Egypt in 1978, the attack on Iraq's nuclear reactor in 1981, and the preemptive strike against Iran, who was close to acquiring nuclear weapons aimed at the destruction of Israel. Dear friends, the toll of the war against Iran and its proxies since the horrific day of October 7th is heavy. We ache for the Israelis, soldiers and civilians who lost their life. I can tell you on a personal note that since last week, I have had many tough moments between FaceTiming my 3 children and my 100 years old Holocaust survivor mother as they run to the shelter when the sirens sound. I stay with them in the call until the alert clears and they can go back to bed until the next siren. Yet, despite the heavy toll, the Israeli spirit is strong and steadfast. They understand this is a war on the right of our beloved Jewish homeland to exist. And the silver lining is that Iran and its proxies are unraveling. And I'm confident that we will prevail and win this existential war against those who seek our destruction. Dear friends, Israel is strong, and our mission is to play part in that strength. Since October 7th, we have raised a record-breaking $5 billion, $5 billion in global Israel bond sales. These funds have been an essential lifeline in Israel's economic resilience. Now, once again, it's our task to show up and support Israel. And I call upon each and every one of you, support Israel in the most direct and impactful way by investing in its economy, by investing in Israel bonds. And now it's my pleasure to introduce someone who has led our organization with steadfast dedication. Please welcome our international and national chairman of the board, Dr. Andrew Harder.
Thank you very much, Donnie. I am humbled and grateful to serve as your chairman of the board, especially during such extraordinary and challenging times for the Jewish people in the state of Israel. Since October 7th, we live in a world that was forever changed. And in the 20 months since, Israel has been fighting for its very right to exist. But through the darkness, we've also witnessed something extraordinary, our global community rising in unity and resolve. Israel Bonds is a testament to that. As Donnie said, we raised over $5 billion in bonds since October 7th. And it's his staff, he and his staff, and Stuart Garowitz, our Vice President of Sales, who led us. But I want to thank all of you for purchasing bonds. And please continue to do so, as we will need to continue our support of Israel in the future. Operation Rising Lion is a powerful reminder that Israel will always act boldly to defend its people, its land, our shared values, and the free world. But Israel is bearing massive human and financial costs. The economic toll of defending Israel's citizens from Iranian missiles is staggering. Israel continues to stand strong, thanks in part to those who stand with her, like our investors in Israel Bonds and all of you who are here today. You play a role in supporting Israel in these critical times. Our goal today is not only to be informed, but to be inspired. And to that inspiration, to turn that inspiration into impact, to provide Israel with the resources it needs to remain resilient, secure, and strong. It is my great honor to introduce someone who embodies strength and vision, Israel's ambassador to the United States, Dr. Yechiel Leiter. Ambassador Leiter has spent decades shaping Israel's policy and global strategy. From his time as chief of staff to the Ministry of Finance to his advisory role to top Israeli leaders, his voice has helped guide Israel through some of its most defining moments. On a personal note, Ambassador, I would like to thank you for your support of Israel Bonds since you became the ambassador. It was our honor to have you address our leadership conference this past March in Dallas, and your inspiring words set the tone for what was an excellent and meaningful conference. Thank you again, and please all join me in welcoming Ambassador Leiter.
So I understand that there's a little delay and the ambassador will be with us soon. So now I have the mission to, like those anchors on TV, to buy some time till the ambassador will be with us. So I'm sorry and apologize on his behalf. You can imagine how occupied Israel's ambassador in DC is these days. I don't know if he's on the phone with the president or with the prime minister or with both. But we know that he played an important role in achieving even greater collaboration between Israel and the United States of America these days. And as I mentioned at the beginning, there is no doubt that Iran's nuclear threat is not just a threat on Israel, it's a threat on the United States of America. And let's not be mistaken, for the Iranians, Israel is a little Satan and the United States is a big Satan. And in order to defeat our joint enemies, we need to stand together. And it's really, I would say, exciting and moving and encouraging to see how Israel and America stand together these days against our joint enemies. And Israel, as we all know, started this campaign on Thursday. there were like unofficial reports about the U.S. assistance, and I see now Ambassador Leiter. Ambassador Leiter, he's probably going to join us in a second. I see him on the other screen, so tell us as soon as you are ready, and we can move the floor to you, Dr. Leiter. And I just want to repeat the words of my predecessor on this call, our chairman of the board, Dr. Andrew Hader, how appreciative we are for everything you do for Israel these days, for everything you do for the people of Israel and the future of all of us. So, Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Danny, for the kind introduction. Thank you, Andy. We met in Dallas a few months ago, and it was a great meeting. It was a pleasure meeting you for the first time. It's good to see you again. I don't see my good friend Zev Rubenstein, your vice president in charge of development. I go back with Zevik a long time. As we say in Hebrew, we've stolen many horses together. Zevik not on? Okay. Well, Danny, it's always good to be in your company. We know each other for many, many years. And to see Israel Bonds expand under your leadership is uplifting, heartwarming, and most importantly, important for the state of Israel. I want to talk about the importance of Israel Bonds, but I just got back from an interview with CNN. Excuse me for being a little late, but I just had Dana Bash, and the instructions from the Prime Minister are to engage the eighth front of this war. We're on a 7-front war. The eighth front is the war of public diplomacy, and I'm doing a lot of media in order to get our messaging across. So I'll share with you some of the messages, and then I'll be happy to open up for questions. Look, first of all, the timing of the war is one of the big questions that I'm asked constantly. Why now? Why particularly Thursday night? So first of all, Thursday night was the last day of the 60 days that the president gave to Khamenei, to the supreme leader, to reach an agreement. And Friday was the 61st day. So he did not negotiate in good faith, not that we were surprised by that. And the 60 days were up, number one. Number two, on Wednesday, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, issued a very damning report, basically vindicating and supporting everything our prime minister has been saying now for 15 years, that the Iranian regime is racing towards a nuclear weapon, the nuclearization of enriched uranium. And number three, our intel showed very clearly that the regime was racing towards a bomb with a swiftness and immediacy that we could not wait any longer. So, you know, I don't know if you caught the president on Air Force One last night when he was on his way back, and he was asked about American intel. That intel showed that they're years off. So I was asked about that now on Dana Bash, and I said, well, apparently the president received other intel because he gave him 60 days. If he believed that they had several years to wait, then he probably wouldn't have given them 60 days, rather maybe 6 years or 6 months. So, but our intel in any case was very, very clear. They're racing towards a nuclear bomb. It's also very important to emphasize that it's not only the nuclearization of enriched uranium that we're so concerned with. And let me just say in parentheses that when it comes to enrichment for civilian purposes, which they claim is their interest, you don't need 60% enrichment. You don't need 20% enrichment. You don't even need 3.5% enrichment. You don't need enrichment, period. There are dozens of countries around the world that have a civilian nuclear program, and what they do is they import the fuel, process the fuel, and then the fuel is removed. And all this is done under international scrutiny, under international jurisdiction and scrutiny. So if you enrich uranium, you want a bomb. If you want a civilian nuclear program, then you do the 1, 2, 3 step of importation and leave it open for international inspection and scrutiny. So clearly they want the bomb. But beyond that, what's becoming very clear in this war right now is this is going to be a demand of ours. The president just issued another tweet or post calling for unconditional surrender. And one of our conditions for that surrender is going to be the dismantlement and the termination of the ballistic missile program. They're in violation, by the way, of international law in that regard. But we see what this ballistic missile program is intended to do. And we have quotes from Khamenei, the supreme leader, who says that even without a nuclear bomb, even if we just fire thousands of ballistic missiles into Israel at the same time, what are they going to do? Can't do anything but die. That's his statement. So, you have to understand what these ballistic missiles are. I mean, imagine for a moment that you've got a yellow school bus or a semi-trailer, and you just fill it up with dynamite, then send it sailing through the skies at a very fast rate, and that hits a population center that can kill thousands of people. This is an opportunity to say thank you, by the way, to the administration, to the president, to the Congress, to the American people, because our ask of the United States has been for a defensive posture. And the United States has positioned THAAD missile defense systems and Aegis missile defense systems at our disposal. They've been fantastically successful in this round, more successful in the past 2 rounds in October and April. And it can be said that the United States has saved thousands of lives in Greater Tel Aviv and Haifa because of these defense missile batteries. And they're being replenished now. That was our ask. Our ask, it's very important to emphasize, was not for an offensive posture. We have not requested anything from the United States outside of a defensive posture, particularly, specifically, the THAADs and the Aegis systems. Everything came together Thursday night. I mentioned the 3 points, but in addition, you also need military preparedness. And we had reached the point of complete military preparedness. We had the intel we needed. We had operationally the planes in place, and we were ready to go. And the successes that we have in the interim from the beginning are beyond our expectations. We are ahead of schedule in terms of taking out the surface-to-surface missile sites. We still have more to go. Apparently, we hit somewhere between a third and a half, but they're on the run. They're in hiding. We are hunting them down and taking them out. We've had more successes today in doing so. We had to do is the first wave of attack was to peel back the ground to air missiles, so that the defense against our missiles, the defense systems, and they were basically in 2 large layers. The first layer was on the western border of Iran, and then there's the middle of Iran. So we did that in order. Our pilots, our brave pilots, are just incredible, so brave and so talented. And by Sunday, we had pretty much complete control of the open skies in and over Iran, which gave us air superiority and the ability to do pretty much what we want to do. We've taken out Natanz, which is the first and premier uranium enrichment site. There is still some issue about the lower level with the centrifuges. We think that it has imploded completely and is completely destroyed, but we're going to ensure that that's the case. There have been some more raids on Natanz today. We have taken out the conversion site in Isfahan, and there's extensive damage in the lower level of Isfahan as well. We've taken out most of the research and development centers, both for ballistic missiles and for the nuclear program. And of course, I keep getting asked about the supreme leader. I'm sure you just saw the president's tweet about the supreme leader, that in the meantime he's safe. But as Dana Bash asked me on CNN, what about the supreme leader? Will he continue to be safe, or can he become a target? I said, look, when the supreme leader looks to his left for his nuclear scientists, he doesn't see anybody. When he looks to the right for his military generals, he doesn't see anybody. So this might be an optimum position that we're in. Let me remind you that the chief of staff that we took out on Thursday night was replaced by another chief of staff on Friday, someone very close to the Shamani, very close to the supreme leader. And he departed this world yesterday. So there aren't going to be too many people who are going to stand in line to serve as chief of staff. And the importance of this can't be overestimated. Look what happened in Lebanon. You know, everybody always says, well, you take out one, somebody else comes and fills his place. Yeah, when we took out Nasrallah, his second in command came into play. We took him out, and now basically Hezbollah is in disarray. The chain of command has been destroyed. We have a new government in Lebanon that is honoring the ceasefire by disarming Hezbollah. So there's a fundamental change, and not to mention, of course, the fundamental change in government in Syria as well. So the possibility of bringing about dramatic change in policy and governance exists. We've seen it, and we hope that will be the case in Iran. Just on the issue of regime change, now that I've mentioned that, let me emphasize that we are not in the business of regime change. That is not our goal. We're asked about that quite a bit. We're not here to change regimes, but if our actions to terminate the threat of annihilation against the Jewish state is successful, and it facilitates the rising of the Iranian people, the good Iranian people who are very pro-Western and want good relations with Israel and the West in general. If that facilitates their ability to go out to the streets and rise up in protest and throw this yoke of theocratic, kleptocratic totalitarianism from on top of them, let it be. Let me just conclude by saying that this is really an opportune time to intensify and augment the activities of Israel Bonds. You've done an incredible job increasing the sale of bonds since the October 7th massacre. The numbers are stellar. They look like this, that the graph keeps going up. But now this is an opportunity to go even further. We need you now more than ever, because look, you're investing in a strong economy. The numbers are really good. Even during the war, we've had the third straight day of a stock market going up. Okay, and the numbers are solid. We have a very low national debt to GDP ratio. It's actually the lowest in the OECD, the lowest of the developed countries in the world, despite the load on our shoulders when it comes to defense. So our numbers are good. We're talking about a forecast of growth. We had a bad fourth quarter at the end of 2023 because of the massacre, and immediately we bounced back in the first quarter of 2024 and have been in growth since then, despite our contention with Hamas, the ongoing war, the continued crisis of Hamas holding our hostages. And this is a society that needs you desperately. We are a society that is not yet in PTSD. We're going to be in PTSD soon, but the war's not over yet. So it's not post-traumatic. We're in traumatic syndrome. Somebody just reached out to me in a WhatsApp. I don't normally have time to go into my Israeli phone, but when I go in, I get like 150 messages on WhatsApp, and a few of them were friends of mine, acquaintances who have been called up to Miluim, and they said, "Look, Yechiel, this is the fourth or fifth time we're called up to Miluim. We've done 350 days over the past year and a half, and there's some basic things we need. Can you help us out?" So that's to help a unit out in the army, which is fine, but on a national scale. The country is in real need. We've tripled and quadrupled the numbers of our social workers and psychologists to deal with all the families that are dealing with loved ones that have been lost. or families that have been removed from their homes. And now, just imagine, people spending day and night in bomb shelters or near bomb shelters. One of these things hits. Imagine what these ballistic missiles are. They're very, very, very frightening. Even if you don't get hit, if you're miles away, you hear the boom. So people are in trauma. They need very much the support of Jews around the world and Christians and lovers of Zion. Anybody who loves the Jewish state, believes that we're doing something for humanity, should increase. Whatever you're doing, just do a little more, because this is the time. We're not in a mode yet. Soon, I think we're going to be there. We're going to be in a mode where you're going to want to invest in expanding Abraham Accords. You're going to want to invest in countries that are going to be lining up to sign peace treaties with us and normalization. They're going to be great business opportunities. But right now, we need to remain strong economically, and you play a very, very important role in doing so. So with that, I have a few minutes for questions. If Donnie, you want to lead the charge and just let me know what questions to answer, I'm yours.
Ambassador, we want to thank you so much for your great insights and profound knowledge on the situation. We do have some questions. My name is Stuart Garowitz. Great to see you again, Vice President of National Sales. We have comes from Debbie Janoff. She's the Metro New Jersey co-chair and general chair-elect. Debbie?
And thank you so much, Ambassador, for taking the time to speak with us. What has been the global diplomatic response to Operation Rising Lion, and how is Israel working to maintain international support?
Well, I got to tell you, our people in the foreign ministry are working really round the clock to shore up international support. It's rough going. Look, there was a meeting yesterday, the board of the IAEA in Vienna, and we had to stave off a coordinated resolution against Israel. Not easy. I said yesterday in one of my interviews, the G7 is meeting, and it's just so tragic that European leaders don't understand what's happening. Want to issue such a tepid statement regarding Iran and the war. Just 80 years ago, there was a little guy with a mustache running around Europe saying he was going to annihilate Jews. And he was mixing into all the countries and threatening the countries around him. And everybody sat in their hands and appeased them. These calls for, go back into negotiations. I saw a document yesterday somebody gave me. I came out of the Situation Room, and somebody gave me a document that a Jewish organization put out. I mean, I don't even mention their name. Okay, a Jewish organization, puts out a document saying they're calling for immediate cessation of the fighting, and they want to go back to diplomacy. And for crying out loud, we've been in diplomacy. The world's been in diplomacy with these people, for a decade and a half, almost 2 decades. And as they're talking, they're racing towards a nuclear bomb, and they're calling for, this supreme leader has led millions of people in the square of Tehran calling death to Israel, death to America. They've tried to assassinate President Trump twice. They tried to assassinate the former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. Okay, they supported proxies all over the world to degrade and threaten American interests. So, where are you, Europeans? Where are you? Are you in the same mode that you were 80 years ago when you sat on your hands and appeased and ultimately ended up with a war that resulted in 65 million dead and 6 million of our own? So we've learned from that. The lesson of the Holocaust is when somebody says they're intending to kill you, believe them. So our prime minister has believed Khamenei and his predecessor now from the very beginning. I mean, he wrote about this shortly after Khomeini took over in 1979. He said, just imagine that this occult, this death cult, would achieve a nuclear weapon. And it's happening. And it was very clear to our intel that it was happening. So we have to put a stop to it. I will say that when we're resolute, that's when we bring people around. I mean, look at the statement that came out this morning from the Chancellor of Germany, Chancellor Merz, who made a very strong statement, practically, wishing us success in this war against Iran. That's a big, big move on the part of the Chancellor of Germany. So we would only hope that his neighbors, would understand that that's the direction to go. And I think if we continue to be resolute and don't lose sight of our ultimate goal, keep the focus on and keep the military pressure on, we're very near military victory. I mean, we can completely dismantle the Iranian military structure. Okay, they have no planes to take off. Their development sites for enrichment are being destroyed. Their ballistic missile factories are being destroyed. And as I said, we have more surprises up our sleeves. When people figure out what happened last Thursday night, just imagine a Mossad and Air Force operation where we've actually developed a factory in Tehran for UAVs. I mean, when we had the big archive take out of Tehran, we were removing documents from Tehran. Here we actually moved into Tehran and set up a factory, which was then used to take out our enemy. So we're working very hard in the public diplomacy arena, working very hard in the international diplomacy. We don't expect, countries to line up at the UN to vote in our favor, but we're making the effort to convince as many people as possible of the need to take this malevolent actor off the world stage.
Chuck Burke, National Advisory Council member from Georgia. Chuck.
Ambassador, great to see you again. I saw you at the temple in Atlanta, and you pretty much answered the question I had here, which was how are the Israeli people doing? And they're very resilient. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, but let me ask you this. You mentioned when you were down here how important it was to let everybody know that the Jews are the indigenous people of Israel and that we're not interlopers, we're not occupiers. And I've spread that message out to a lot of people. Do you want to comment on that?
Well, the first comment I want to make is God bless you. And now I'm so happy that I made it down to Atlanta, because if you're spreading that message, it's very, very satisfying. I'm doing my job. I will comment by saying that really, I think that's at the root of our battle here. We have to contend with a narrative that's been established for many decades now that we're strangers. Because you got to ask yourself, how is it that there's this reflex every time we do something? We're assumed guilty. Every time the other side does something, there are explanations as to why they're able to do it and why it's justified. And, what is that stemming from? And at the end of the day, it stems from a narrative which says that we are the interlopers, we're occupiers, the Palestinians are the indigenous population, and therefore everything they do can be justified. And imagine October 7th was justified by college professors across this country. Just amazing. It's beyond it's beyond comprehension. But why? Because they're indigenous. We have stolen their country, and there's nothing else for them to do. So we have to come back to basics. Long before, 2,000 years before there was a Roman occupation of Israel, and after a suppression of the Jewish insurrection of Bar Kokhba in 135. In 136, the year after, for the first time, the term Palestine was used, was pressed on the coins that the Romans made that year in order to sever the bond between the people of Israel and the land of Israel. That's what Palestine was intended to accomplish in 136. So we had leaders for 2,000 years of exile who kind of tricked the Romans. And even though they pressed Palestine on those coins, we continued to face Jerusalem 3 times a day. We finalized our we finished our Seder night by Lashana Haba Yerushalayim next year in Jerusalem. We broke a glass under every canopy to remind us that our homes cannot be whole without the national home of Israel. We never gave up in our prayers and hopes and dreams to return, and we always had a presence in the Holy Land. So we're indigenous. We belong to this land. The land belongs to us. At worst, it's disputed land. The other side can say they deserve it too, and we can negotiate, and we can talk, and we can work out an agreement. We've been pursuing agreements for decades, ever since the state was established. But that agreement in the future is not going to be one where we're constantly in a state of withdrawal, because every time that we've withdrawn, we've been met with intensive terror campaign. So that's not going to happen again. The bandwidth in Israel for a Palestinian state is about this wide. It's about a hair's breadth. Okay, there's nobody even on the left of Israeli politics today who's talking about Palestinian state. Accommodation, economic growth, cooperation, collaboration, absolutely. We can live together. We can grow our economies together. We can grow the Human Development Index together. We can do an awful lot of things together, and everybody's going to be happy. Some autonomous zones to run their own lives, fine. But we are not going to go back into a state where what happened on October 7th can happen throughout the land of Israel. So we are in a battle now. We're at the head of the snake. We've fought with Hamas. We've diminished Hamas. We've devastated Hezbollah. We've diminished the Houthis. We still have work to do there. We caused the toppling of a very, very hostile pro-Iranian government in Syria. We have a ways to go there, but the music is very good and it looks promising. And now we are tending to the head of the snake. And once we do that, many other things are going to fall into place. Gaza is going to fall into place. Lebanon's going to fall into place. Syria is going to fall into place. And the possibilities for normalization treaties with our other neighbors, such as Saudi Arabia, are going to fall into place as well. We just have to keep our eye on the ball and not give up. Continue to be resolute, continue with our resilience, our political resilience, our social resilience. Our people are strong, and you be strong too. You stand aside and deepen, enrichen, and solidify that bond, okay, between us. And it's going to serve both us, and it's going to serve you as well.
Ambassador, if I can just one last question, if I may. Ellie Hirschfeld, National Advisory Council member from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. I learned a lot. My question is, the needs are so great. How can Jewish communities and my friends best support Israel right now?
So really what I said before, number one, as soon as there are flights back to Israel, come for a visit. Come for a visit. Come to the Gaza envelope. Just walk into a home and give a hug. Just hug some people. Go into Tel HaShomer Hospital to Chayalim, to our soldiers who have lost limbs. Okay, who are learning to see again, to walk again, or learning to function without their limbs. Give them a hug. Ask them what they need. If there's anything you can do to help them. Go to our northern communities that were removed from their homes for months on end. You know, large families with kids who are used to living in a kibbutz life, who were pent up in a hotel room in Tiberias, you know, and wanted to jump out the window after spending months on end. Just go to the people in the neighborhoods of Rishon LeZion and Rehovot and Bat Yam, who were just the recipients of these ballistic missiles sent in by Iran. See the communities that have been devastated by these ballistic missiles. Just walk through the streets, go into the living room of the next door neighbor and just sit with them and say, you know what? There's tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of Jews that are thinking about you in Atlanta and New York and Seattle and North Dakota. You know, just tell them we're with you, and our American friends are with you, and just let people feel that they're not alone. So number one, come, spend your money in the cities, meet the people, give out a lot of hugs and kisses, and increase your bond commitment. Very important. And talk to people in your own community, in your circles of friends, business acquaintances, who are in a battle for our legitimacy. What the enemy has done over the past few decades is to, this gets back to the point of indigenous, not indigenous. They've taken away our legitimacy. They've demonized us. This international criminal court, the stain of Cain on the forehead of the prime minister. You call him a war criminal. You call our soldiers war criminals. Okay, you say that we are child killers. At the end of the day, some lunatic is going to pick up a gun like this, what happened 3 weeks ago here in Washington, and shoot two of our employees, two of our embassy employees, two beautiful kids. Because what he's doing, he's acting on behalf of the downtrodden and all those babies killed in Gaza. We don't starve people. Okay, BBC announced 3 weeks ago, in 48 hours, 14,000 babies would starve. No baby starved. Nobody walked it back. Nobody apologized, but everybody heard that we're starving. Nobody's starved in Gaza. We've been supplying food and humanitarian aid to Gaza for the past year and a half, even though we knew it would fall into the hands of Hamas. Imagine that. And our people are saying to the government, I'm sending my son and daughter into the line of fire. Why are we supplying humanitarian aid to the same people, firing at them? It was a big problem we had. So what we did was we established a company together with the State Department under Secretary Rubio that is now the official distributor of humanitarian aid. And what's happening is more food is getting to more people and less of it is getting to Hamas. Everybody should be getting behind that. And I don't know why I've got to go to the Congress and convince congresswomen and congressmen that this is a better option than putting it through the UN, which is putting it through Hamas. So you got to be out there on the beating the pavement of ideas. You have to be on the right street. You know what I'm referring to? Get on the right street. There's Jewish organizations on the wrong street. And when you're on the right street, you're really pro-Israel. You're not duplicitous. You're not, pro-Palestinian by waving a pro-Israel flag.
Thank you. I'm Glenn Siegel. I'm Secretary of the Board of Israel Bonds and also an Executive Committee member. Ambassador Leiter, thank you for your time. Thank you for your powerful message. And thank you for your lifetime commitment to the State of Israel. I've known the ambassador for over 40 years. We met when he was a resident and the leader of the Jewish community in Hebron. I've known him as a friend, rabbi, soldier, author, business person, advisor to prime ministers, and now as ambassador. There is no better or more qualified person to represent Israel at this most critical time of war. Yechiel is the right person at the right place at the right time. I also want to thank our chairperson, Dr. Andy Hutter, and President and CEO, Donnie Neve, for their leadership, not just today, but every day in guiding us through these tough times. I first learned about Israel bonds as a young child during the 6-Day War. I learned about the importance of a strong Israel. Then again, during the Entebbe operation, I learned about the need for the long arm of the IDF. Today, we are witnessing the full strength of the IDF. Israel is fighting a war for the safety and future of not just Israel, but of the entire world. When you invest in Israel bonds, you are becoming a partner in the future of Israel and of the Jewish people. God bless and protect the IDF and all the people of Israel. Thank you for joining us today.